Joining us now on the line is our good friend Steve Moore, chief economist at the Heritage Foundation, and still a contributor to the Wall Street Journal. All-round good guy, somebody you should follow, by the way, on Twitter. Hey, listen, I want to start. So much to talk to you about, but I want to get back to this discussion about the minimum wage, because the president and all Democrats are pushing universally across the board, every place that they can possibly push for an increase of the minimum wage to 10.10. And then the CBO, this nonpartisan group up on Capitol that looks at matters as such, comes out with this report that says, you would lift some people out of poverty, but you would kill 500,000 jobs, and virtually every American would end up paying more for goods and services. Is the minimum wage a good idea, an increase in the minimum wage, or a bad idea in your estimation?
Well, Brian, it's hard to think
I probably know the answer here.
I think it's hard to think of a politician who's had a worse week than Barack Obama did last week, because first, remember about 7 or 8 days ago, the CBO said that the Obamacare bill is going to kill 2 million jobs, 2 to 2.5 million jobs, and then his other big initiative, the minimum wage, according to CBO, will lose 500,000 jobs. So you do the math there, and in 1 week, the president lost 3 million jobs for the U.S. economy with his two major initiatives. We've known this as economists, by the way, Brian, for 50 years, that when you raise the minimum wage, some people will lose their jobs. What's different here is that the increase is so dramatically significant. To go to $10.10 an hour, you're going to destroy. I think actually CBO was way too low. And by the way, it's so funny to watch these liberals attack the CBO. This is the institution that they've loved for decades. This was the institution that said that the Obamacare was going to save taxpayers money.
Well, Larry had a good point on that. He said they love the number that says that 900,000 people would be lifted out of poverty. They believe that number, but they don't believe the number that comes from the CBO that says it would also kill 500,000 jobs.
Well, you know what, Larry, what's so subversive about the increase in the minimum wage? I don't know about you guys, but my first job was a minimum wage job. I worked in a factory, $2.35 an hour. That'll tell you how old I am. And you know what? The first job you have, I don't know about you guys if you remember your first job, it's one of the most important jobs you ever have in your life, right? You learn how to show up for work and to be, to be courteous and to treat your boss right, and how to work a cash register. All of those things matter a lot. And the reason I'm so against the minimum wage increase, I think you're going to destroy a lot of those starter jobs for teenagers and young workers. And, guys, if you don't have that first job, you don't get your second job or third job or fourth job.
That's right. Steve Moore is our guest, chief economist from the Heritage Foundation. And I kid you not, Steve Moore, this is the headline on the Washington Post. Are you ready?
I know this. Go ahead.
With 2015 budget request, Obama will call for an end to era of austerity. I missed the era of austerity. When did the era of austerity?
When did that happen?
Well, the problem, guys, is you blinked. If you blinked, you missed it, because I was struck by that headline, too. I mean, that's one of our all-time great headlines of all time. I mean, here in Washington, over the last 5 years, we have borrowed $6 trillion. We have a near $4 trillion budget right now.
That's austerity.
And the Obama administration is pretending that we've had this era of austerity. And by the way, there have been some cuts, but those have been cuts imposed by the Republican Congress. Obama has fought them every inch of the way. And then in his State of the Union speech, he goes on and talks about how fiscally responsible he is.
Well, and
so this budget contains, ladies and gentlemen, $56 billion of new spending above the spending caps that he agreed to 2 years ago.
And by the way, those cuts that you talked about, those are, first of all, cuts in the rate of growth after they increased the budget by, $1 trillion, I think, after they took office with the stimulus.
Yeah. That's right, Larry. I mean, the big story is we had this massive buildup in spending in 2009 and 2010, Obama's first 2 years, with the $800 billion stimulus and all of the bailouts and so on. Now, it is true, actually, the last 2 years, because of sequester, spending has actually fallen, but it's still way, way above what it would have been if we hadn't had the stimulus and all of these other spending programs. So, ladies and gentlemen, Washington has not on a diet. It's got a record high federal budget right now.
Well, I don't know if you've had a chance to absorb the numbers on this, but apparently one of the things we're going to hear more about as the day progresses is a desire to cut back and curtail military spending.
Yeah.
They're going to cut back on the Army, at least have fewer troops ready to go. What's your thought about that?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, when you talk about the reductions in the budget that have happened over the last few years, guess where almost all those cuts have been?
Right.
In the military,
Yeah.
right? So this is a president who only wants to cut one thing out of the budget, military spending. And look, it is true we're withdrawing from Afghanistan and Iraq, so you're going to get some savings from that. But I worry, as you do, Brian, about what is this doing to gutting our readiness for the next time we are going to need our military for national security reasons.
Well, we've sort of gone this yo-yo route before, haven't it? Where we spend and then we cut, and then we figure, oh, we cut too much, now we got to spend. I mean, that's been the history of this in recent times, hasn't it?
That's right, and that's why I remember in the 1970s, we've always said, you know, as at the Wall Street Journal, we always said that weakness is provocative, right? It's oftentimes when we find ourselves in a weak situation, when we back down, that's when our enemies get aggressive.
All right, Steve Moore, by the way, the president is going to go on a little tour here. He's heading to St. Paul on Wednesday, and he's going to talk about a whole lot of new spending here that he wants to do, investments, as he put it. What's the best thing? I mean, if you could think of one thing that the president could do right now to increase employment in this country and actually get the economy above the, you know, treading water, treading mud, really, that it's been doing the last few years, what would you recommend?
Well, is this a trick question? I mean, I think we all know the answer to that one. I mean, we have to repeal Obamacare. I gave a talk last week to the National Restaurant Association. This is killing them. Obamacare.
Oh, yeah.
Do you guys know what a 49er is?
Yeah. No. Well, that's the
company that has 49 employees, and they won't hire the 50th.
Yep, this is happening all over the country. You're going to hear that term more. And I'm not talking about the San Francisco 49ers. These are businesses that are holding their employment down to 49. And by the way, guys, there are many employers around the country that have 60 or 65 workers, and they're actually cutting back their labor force to get below 50. So that law, in addition to destroying our healthcare system, is destroying jobs, and that would be.
How's that Obamacare working out for you? That's what I keep asking people. I mean, it really, when you look at it, when you talk about what it does to jobs and what it's done to the fact that now we have more people without insurance than we did before Obamacare, it's just a complete disaster.
Steve Moore, Chief Economist, Heritage Foundation, contributor to the Wall Street Journal. Always good to have you, Steve. Thanks so much for being here.
Have a great week, guys.
Thanks. Steve is so good. He takes these economic issues and just makes them regular English, and it's just so understandable. Love having